Alright, welcome back to another That's Oath video by your boy Burger Brush. Today I will be talking about my experiences with league starting at Death's Oath in the 3.18 Sentinel League, how it's been going, and basically what my gear is so far after playing the league for a week or so. Now I must say, I started pretty late into this league. I was only able to play for a couple of hours on league start, and then I couldn't play for the entire weekend, and I got to maps like the week after, and I only am able to play like for 2 days for a couple of hours every week because I have so much real life stuff going on and I have a job now and everything. But I've still been able to absolutely smash this league so far with this build. I had no issues with league starting. I'm smashing through the Atlas right now. Basically have 100 completions on the Atlas, I think. I'm doing tier 15, tier 16 maps. My gear isn't even that crazy and I'm still just zooming through everything. Now, one thing that I gotta say though is that the single target is definitely an issue when you get to tier 15, tier 16 maps. Depending on what map mods you have on the map that you're doing, killing the bosses can be quite difficult, and it also depends on what boss it is overall in the map as well. And you will see that in this footage here later when I kill the map boss of the Cells map. The boss has 50% increased, like 50% increased unique monster life, which is basically the boss. And yeah, it is a tier 15 map, and I just don't really have that good single target damage, which you will also realize later when we go over the gear, because I'm only on a 5 link right now. But this build has been so much fun. I've been loving every single minute of playing this build. It is zooming through maps, everything is exploding, you know. I'm doing all the content that I enjoy. I've had no issues with leveling, no issues with getting through the early acts. And I'm making so much money with this build because it's so fast and everything. And the gear was not expensive to get, and it was really easy to get early on as well. And everything has just been going really smooth. So last league, this became my favorite build since, Ritual League. And this league, I am just starting to realize that, like, holy shit, this is probably my favorite build of all time. Leveling was easy, going through early mapping now has been easy and fun, and playing this build is just absolutely fantastic. In this video, we will go over the gear, we will go over the Atlas skill tree, and I will talk about how the leveling experience was through the acts and basically what I used for leveling through the acts and kind of how it went. Now, the one thing that I really want to focus on in this video as well, so people really understand that, is that this build does not have good single targets. Now, I can do tier 15 and I can do tier 16 bosses, and my gear is still pretty bad. I'm only on a 5 link for single target, and I have just really bad gear overall. So I will be able to handle bosses better later on, but this character is not meant to do end game bosses. Right now I have the decent invitation, as it says on the right there with my quest log. I cannot kill that boss on my own. I have to get help from someone else to be able to kill that boss, because this character does not handle end game bosses well. That is something you have to realize if you're playing this build, is that this build is extremely focused on mapping and making money through speed mapping and doing content that works very well for this build, or stuff that you might enjoy as well. It could work for well too, I suppose. But yeah, please understand that if you're gonna play this build, you might get frustrated that single target is not really what you're hoping it to be, and that you might need help from time to time. But as I said, I do handle tier 16 maps, and I will handle them even better later on when I get better gear. Alright, so let's go over the gear quickly. For the bow, I only have a 5 link bow that isn't really that good. I have level of socketed gems and level of socketed bow gems that helps my damage. Everything else here is like whatever. And for the bow, I have caustic arrow to help me with single target on bosses or maybe some rares. This is the next item on my list that I need to upgrade, because a good bow will bring you a lot of damage, and like I said, this is only a 5 link. Now for gloves, I have life and resists. Belt, life and resists. Boots, life and resists and movement speed. Ring, life and resists and strength, because you need strength to wear the Death's Oath. I also have non-channeling skills have minus a total mana cost, so I can more freely use Caustic Arrow because of my low mana pool. My other ring, life and stats. On the amulet, I have Impresence Onyx Amulet, which is a very important item for this build, because it makes so our Despair is cast as an aura, and it doesn't cost any mana. So then I can have Grace, Malevolence, and Temple Chains, and later on, when I get more gear, Defiance Banner as well, for defensive purposes and, you know, offensive purposes with these other auras alongside with Despair. And then for Helmet, I have Life and Resists, and for the Quiver, I have Life and Resists, basically. So my gear is nothing special, and for, you know, the armor, obviously, the Death's Oath Astral Plate, the one that we are playing with, you know, the whole idea of the build. It's a 6-socket, that's all you need, doesn't need to be linked. You need 2 blue, 2 red, 2 green. And that's basically it for my gear. I also have, you know, Hypnotic Eye Jewel in my belt here with life, evasion, and gain facing, you know, nothing really specific. Flasks, Quicksilver, Jade, Quartz, Silver Flask. Nothing really specific here either. Like, there's nothing crazy about my gear so far, except for some cluster jewels. I did spend a little bit on cluster jewels because it is a lot of character power. We have a 8 passive, 3 passive, or 3 node large cluster jewel here with Unholy Grace, Unwaveringly Evil, Touch of Cruelty. This is really good for us. You can go for 2 nodes if you can afford 3, but 3 is also really good if you can afford it. And then for medium clusters, I have Flow of Life, Brute for Potency on both. Now, this is where most of my money in the build is, basically. And for everything else, I don't even have a jewel in here. And for this jewel, I have life and damage over time multiplier. This one is decent. And here I just have a Conqueror's Efficiency because I'm lazy and haven't even properly fixed jewels, as you can see, since I have nothing here. And here later I will put the Legion jewel so we get the Chaos node here. But I don't have that yet, and you know, it's working fine without that anyway. So my gear, I would say, cost me maybe 150 Chaos-ish. It wasn't really that expensive. It's actually one of the most cheapest builds I've ever played that managed to get to red maps fairly easy. The only thing that I've actually spent a lot of money on lately is the Inspired Learning that I have here. Now, Inspired Learning is something that you do not need for this build. I just have it because I think it's fun to have, and I enjoy it a lot. It makes it a little bit more crazy when I'm mapping, like doing Legion and stuff like that. But I've played this build without Inspired Learning, and you don't need to have it. But if you can afford one, it's just a lot of fun. That's really what it is. And I opted to put it here because I already have Blood Drink and I already have one with Evil. And I was like, alright, I'll get these ones, even though they won't really do much unless I get specific buffs, or later on I will, you know, get Disciple of the Slaughter anointed on my amulet, so I can at least use Frenzy Charges for some more damage. But yeah, so yeah, I just have the Inspired Learning just because it's fun, but it's not needed. So the gear right now, not that crazy. Still, I'm handling red maps really well, and I will be upgrading more of my gear to be able to handle red maps even easier and be able to like do tier 16 bosses as well and just farm more money overall. Now for, you know, gems, I basically have the same gems as I have in my other video. In my bow here, I swap out Swift Affliction into the 5 link if I need more damage. I don't really do this that often though, because it's fine anyway. But if you're really struggling, then take out lesser multiple projectiles and put in Swift Affliction for single targets. For my helmet, it's the same as in the other video, and same with the gloves, same as the other video. Boots, same as the other video, and the same thing for the armor. It's basically everything the same, you know, nothing crazy. The only thing that I want to say is that I only have level 19 gems. You know, all my gems are level 19 here, and I'm still doing really good damage. So just imagine when I get some awakened gems and I get level 20 gems and some, you know, quality on these bad boys as well, my damage is going to go up even more. And when I get a good quiver, I get a good bow, and like a good pair of gloves and all that stuff, I will start dealing even more damage than I'm already doing, and I'm already handling tier 15 and tier 16s really well. So I can't even fathom how much easier it's going to get even when I get better gear. Now, one last thing I want to talk about really quickly is the Atlas skill tree. Now, the Atlas skill tree is so unique in a way because everyone can kind of choose what content they enjoy. Like, this is not me telling you that you should have this. You do the content that you enjoy and you focus on the Atlas skill tree that you want to have. Like, yeah, I know there's a lot of farming strategies and everything, but if you ask me, there's so many different good farming strategies, and it really comes down to what do you enjoy doing. Like, even if you make maybe a little bit more money doing this specific thing than you do this specific thing, but you still make a lot of money doing this thing that you enjoy, so just do what you enjoy. But I'm still going to go over a little thing about how I'm playing the character and how I perceive my skill tree to be in line with how this character plays. So first of all, I have strong boxes because I think they're very easy, fun, and they give a lot of money as well, especially when you have like backup cash. And since Death's Oath, you walk up to enemies and they all just explode. Boom, they all pop, they all disappear. Strong boxes work perfectly because of that. You open a strong box, boom, they're all dead. Immediately. And that's why I also opted in to go for shrines. So you have a shrine, you walk up, boom, all the mobs die immediately. And because I have syncretism, or whatever it's called, I also get more effect of the shrine buffs, and I get an additional shrine effect when I click on a shrine. So because of that, it gives me a lot of character power. I'm already zooming through the map, but when I pick up shrines, I sometimes get the invulnerability shrine, I can't take damage. I get the speed shrine, I'm just zooming through the map even harder, and all these other things that gives me like defenses and damage and life and all these things. It's really crazy and it's really fun. And then drawn to power, shrines have a chance to be have more monsters around them, so I get so much XP from having this. I get so much XP and money and loot and all those things, and they are guarded by one magic pack. So like, this is giving me some great character power. It's a lot of fun, everything just pops and explodes, and it gives me so much XP and loot as well. And then I have Legion, Delirium, and Ritual, just because I enjoy that personally. I think Legion works perfectly for this build. You walk around the Legion, everything just pops and explodes. And because I have an Inspired Learning, it's even easier than that. So I think this Legion thing is fantastic. Delirium is also super easy and super much fun. Like, if you enter a map and there's Delirium Mirror, you can easily zoom through the entire map and kill all the mobs within the mirror without even investing into like mirror stuff. And you just get so much rewards. And then Ritual is also fantastic. You stand in the Ritual, mob spawn, they all explode. It's just walking simulator with everything dying, and then you get a lot of loot. And I'm just a big fan of Ritual overall. So I don't like heisting, I don't like Metamorph. Not for this build because we struggle with single target, right? So Metamorph is not a thing you want to do. I'm not a fan of Blight, not a fan of Sacred Grove. Harvest and Expedition and Abysses. Even though like Blight and Harvest and Expedition, all these things, you can make so much money from it. I know it's really good for money. I just don't enjoy it, and it doesn't really work that good for this character, so I'm just going to skip it altogether. And I'm going to do what I enjoy, and I'm going to do something that works perfectly for this build. Heisting could be decent if you are running heist and delving and everything, because like I said, this is like a running simulator where you want to have narrow pathways to run through and all the mobs just explode. But I don't enjoy heist, so I still don't do it. So that's kind of the content that I focus on, the things that I enjoy. And then another thing is also that it's early in the league, so I have Stream of Consciousness because I don't have a lot of fragments to use yet. And this just gives me even more stuff. So basically, every third map I enter at least have Ritual, at least have Legion, and at least have Delirium. And sometimes I have all three. Like, I have these three forms of content so often, and have strong boxes in every map, and I have multiple shrines in every map. And mapping for me is just so enjoyable. I go in, I zoom through the map, everything pops super fast, I just grab my loot and I get out. And a lot of the time there's so much content going around in there as well. And it is such a blast. Like, I will absolutely play this character every single league from now on. And I do really believe that I will league start with this build every single league as well, because league starting has been so easy, and that's the next point that we're going to go over as well. Okay, so here we have the path building of my character that was used for leveling through the acts on this build. So what I did was that I was using Caustic Arrow until level 12, and then I swapped over to Poisonous Concoction. Poisonous Concoction is a really strong skill to use for leveling. It scales of basically nothing, and it just deals so much damage, and it's so easy to play. So that's basically why I went with that for leveling. Then when I got to around level 65, or when you finish Act 10 Kitava, I swapped over to the Death's Oath, and I swapped over to Caustic Arrow again, and I dropped Poisonous Concoction. But for leveling, it was super easy. I had no problems at all with leveling. It was really fun because I think Poisonous Concoction is a fun skill as well. And this is the skill tree that I was following. So, you know, you get some life and get some chaos damage later on, and, you know, chaos damage and all that stuff. But the main important thing was that I first went for like life nodes. Then I went over here, got some life, got some chaos damage over time. I went down here, life, and you need to get these poison things because, you know, Poisonous Concoction, you need to have some poison nodes. I went for the poison nodes. I went for poison nodes down here, some accuracy and attack speed. You need some of these flask nodes to help you out as well for like single targets. And then I went for mana reservation so I could use a lot of auras while leveling. And then I just filled in everything else after that, like life and, you know, life and whatever, and some more damage and everything. And it was really easy, and that's basically how I did for the leveling stage, and it was an absolute blast. So I think League starting with this build was fantastic, and I had no problems with it, and that's why I will definitely play this character again in future leagues, and I will probably League start with it again because I had no problems through the leveling. I had no problems with early mapping. I had no problems with yellow maps, and I'm having no problems with red maps, even though I don't really have that good gear. So I think this is absolutely one of the easiest, cheapest, and best League starting builds I have played ever. So yeah, that's basically it, you know. And then later when you want to start transitioning into Death's Oath, you know, you need to get some Chaos Res in order to handle the damage that you take from Death's Oath. So you get this and you get that, and then, you know, obviously with our second ascendancy we get Chaos Rest there as well. So once you get all those things, you can start using Death's Oath at level 62 as well, and then whenever you feel like it, you can swap over to using Caustic Arrow for single target support. And yeah, that's basically it, you know. This is the path to building that I linked in my other video as well, where, you know, I have this leveling tree and then like level 85 tree and all that stuff. I get this later on. So you can use this path to building if you want to level this character, but I will make a more extensive guide on how to level this character and the build overall, and I might actually once again make a forum build guide as well. It's been a while since I worked on forum build guides because I'm not a full-time streamer anymore, but this build has been so much fun. I might just make a forum build guide for this build and this build only, and only focus on that and have no other projects going on, so I can properly focus and work on improving this build and making a really good forum guide as well for beginners and experienced players alike. Now remember as well, if you haven't already done this, swing over to my Twitch over at twitch.tv/BurgerBrush, where I'm a full-time streamer and I stream almost daily Path of Exile content. If you have any questions regarding this build or any other build in the game or anything in the game in general, feel free to ask. Also hang out with the rest of the community. We also have an open guild in the game that you can join if you want to hang out with the community as well. And remember to subscribe here on YouTube, and most important of all, have a fantastic fucking day, my friend.